Congressional Democrats are starting to show a little bit of fight by protesting against Donald Trump's OMB pick, Russell Vought. So Senate Democrats had stayed overnight Wednesday to protest Vought's nomination to lead the Office of Management and Budget. Senator Mazie Hirono, for example, of Hawaii said Project 2025 is dangerous. Mr. Vought is dangerous. We want to sound the alarm. This is Chuck Schumer. Sound the alarm on the reckless and lawless things that Russell Vought will do to American families. We are warning the American people how bad this is. We will see the consequences in the weeks and months ahead. Well, that's assuming he can get through the nomination process, which is partly on you. Just saying. Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut and Senator Andy Kim of New Jersey said he's got radical ideas and he actually has the means to implement them very quickly. Okay, so it's an unusual amount of fight from Democrats that I'm not used to seeing. But what makes this guy so dangerous as opposed to Pete Hegseth and some of other of Trump's nominees? Well, I would say that they're all pretty dangerous and unqualified or ridiculous. But that said, why they're focusing on Vought is because, look, the Office of Management and Budget is pretty powerful. Okay, it does a lot. It's responsible for implementing the president's vision across the executive branch through its 5 main functions, okay, which is budget development and execution, management, including oversight of agency performance, procurement, financial management, and information technology, coordination and review of all significant federal regulations from executive agencies, privacy policy, information policy, and review and assessment of information collection requests. Clearance and coordination of legislative and other materials, including agency testimony, legislative proposals, and other communication with Congress, and coordination of other presidential actions, and of course, clearance of presidential executive orders and memoranda to agency heads prior to issuance. So you put this guy in charge of all that. That means if they do, you would hand Donald Trump and Project 2025 a great deal of power. It would be Project 2025 in effect, 100%. And it's not like they haven't already started with that, by the way. This would just cement it, okay? He would use that power to crush dissent and to remake the federal government into one that promotes Christian nationalism, okay? In October of 2024, for example, ProPublica had reported that Vought's proposals included plans to use the military against protesters. Oh, only if need be, only if it's necessary, of course. Right, yeah. Leaving them to decide what is necessary, kind of scary. Also, they would defund agencies like the EPA, get rid of civil servants. So, they've already started. Okay, this current purge is nothing compared to what is eventually coming. In fact, Vought characterizes the federal bureaucracy as, quote, woke and weaponized. Here we go again with the wokeness.
Woke.
God. They don't even know what it means. But it doesn't matter what they think it means, or what it actually means, because it's basically a buzzword that if that's woke. Why is it woke? Because I don't like it, okay? That's why. Okay. But now getting rid of all those civil servants would then lead to replacing them with radical constitutionalists. What is that? What is radical constitutionalism? Well, in Vought's own words, the right needs to throw off the precedents and legal paradigms that have wrongly developed over the last 200 years, and to study carefully the words of the Constitution and how the founders would have responded in modern situations to the encroachments of other branches. We're talking about encroachments to the branches, right? I mean, literally, the president is taking over powers that were delegated to Congress. Okay, these are congressional powers. Okay, but yes, yes. Let's think about how people who didn't even have modern sanitation would react to modern problems. Okay, like for example, the TikTok ban, which was passed by Congress. I think the TikTok ban was stupid. I thought it was really, really dumb. It was a Trump idea in the first place, and now he's like, I'm against the TikTok ban. Well, too late. You got Republicans and Democrats to pass it. You should put it into law, even though I think it's a stupid law, and I think it should have never been passed in the first place. But now you're like, no, we're going to extend that, right? And we're going to stop the ban for, 75 days or whatever, until they can find a buyer. And, I'm setting up a sovereign wealth fund so that the government can buy 50% of TikTok. Oh, boy. But anyway, he's basically saying that, hey, we should pretty much ignore every decision that has happened after the original Constitution. Okay? We should just go back to that without, all the different amendments? Because it's been amended quite a few times. And as a lot of these amendments, of course, were there to expand people's rights, like the 19th Amendment, for example. Right? You just going to ignore that then? It's going to make it so that women can't vote? Is that what you're doing? He also made the argument back in 2023 that Trump's policies in the first administration were thwarted because the lawyers come in and say it's not legal because it's not legal. You can't do that because it's not legal. That would overturn this precedent because, once again, what you're doing is illegal. There's a state law against that. What happened to federalism, guys? Hello. Now, Val added that legal objections to presidential policies are where, quote, so much of things break down in our country. I remember when they would call President Obama, the dictator, right? Obama. Dictator Obama, I'm gonna take my guns. Never happened. They would attack him for doing executive orders and say, you're doing too many executive orders. And then Donald Trump's out here doing literal illegal executive orders, a flood of them. And they don't say a thing other than, bravo, Mr. Trump. Yes, we love that you're breaking the law. Awesome. Wow. Now, Vout had an example in this, right? A future president says, what legal authorities do I need to shut down the riots? What riots? So again, Republicans will be like, the riots in Portland, the BLM riots, that's what it was. 97% peaceful. But, and they never, of course, mention the MAGA riots on January 6th. In fact, they're like, no, those weren't riots at all. Well, they actually were. You're beating police officers, etc. But no, all those people are pardoned, by the way. And the ones who actually did do the rioting for BLM, which was a very, very small part of those protests, okay, they were arrested and they were charged. And so nobody walked. The people that burnt down the Arby's or whatever, they didn't walk. Okay. So this whole right-wing idea, the riots, so many riots, BLM riots. Ridiculous, right? Absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, this guy's saying, well, what legal authorities do I need to shut down the riots? We want to be able to shut down the riots and not have the legal community come in and say, well, that's an inappropriate use of what you're trying to do. What? I wanted to bring in the National Guard to have them shoot all these rioters for social justice. And you got these people, these lawyers telling us, that's illegal. Like, that's the argument this guy's making. Like, I want to do illegal things. I want to do the thing. I want to take the military and I want to crush all protests and dissent. That's what I want to do. And the damn lawyers keep stopping me. How dare they? How dare they? This is authoritarian. 100%. Okay. And he says, I don't want President Trump having to lose a moment of time having fights in the Oval Office about whether something is legal. That tells me that Trump plans on doing a whole lot of illegal things. And he says, I just wanted to be able to break the law. I mean, is that so much to ask? To have President Trump break the law in so many different ways that we all plan on doing? Yeah, that should be a problem, that he should not be able to do that. Speaking of the courts, right? One of the major elements of this so-called radical constitutionalism is to instill fear into the Supreme Court, that the presidency is prepared to just ignore them. Yeah, the Supreme Court is supposed to be a check on power. And the radical constitutionalism says, oh, no, the court, let's ignore them. Yeah, and do whatever we want. Whatever the checks and balances. They don't believe in them. They don't believe in them. They believe in a dictator. That's what he's setting up. And look, they're not just doing it through Supreme Court test cases, right? No, what they're doing right now, you can see it with all the Trump executive orders that are patently illegal. They're bombarding the court with a wave of challenges with the aim of provoking a confrontation over the legitimacy of the existing legal order. Okay? And if the court starts ruling against him, Trump, if he has vote, will defy it, which equals a complete breakdown of all the checks and balances. Now, here's the thing, too. This Supreme Court pretty much belongs to Trump anyway. So they wouldn't even, there's a good likelihood that they won't even rule against him, that they'll rule in favor of him, but he wants that showdown anyway, as does Vought, okay? Talk about impoundment, for example. Impoundment is the president's so-called ability to withhold congressionally appropriated funds, okay? Now, Congress banned that practice back in 1974. Trump wants to bring it back. He says, no, I want to hold the purse strings. I want to withhold funding. And this is what Vought believes. Remember, Vought has been telling Trump, you can do this. Here's the legal basis for doing this. Have fun, go crazy. Okay? Yes, we will make you a king. That's why Russell Vought is dangerous. Okay? And blocking him would be an upset to Trump's plans. But how can you fight, though, when Republicans have the majority? I mean, Democrats in office are like, man, what can we do? What can we do? We're in the minority here. We don't really have a lot of tools. Well, you play hardball. Okay, the minority does have the power to basically grind the legislature to a halt. Okay, the three biggest weapons that Congress has is blanket opposition, quorum calls, and blocking unanimous consent. So you can't vote to confirm any nominees. Now, you could do a quorum check, which forces the clerk to conduct a roll call of all 100 senators. If fewer than 51 senators respond, Senate business stops. It's all procedural stuff. And it's all stuff that we've seen Republicans do all over the years. Okay? And even if a quorum is met, by the way, calling for repeated checks forces Republicans to stay in the chamber to, keep things moving. Otherwise, it's blocked. Objecting to unanimous consent blocks all roll call votes, debates, and delays. It kills fast-track nominations, which is what, again, Donald Trump what he wants to do, okay? And you can delay and delay and delay and until you get to the midterms. And then you get a majority, and you could stop Trump from enacting his agenda. And that would be the whole point, to delay until there are elections, okay? Again, Republicans have already done all this. So it's not like it's unprecedented. I mean, Mitch McConnell, basically in his quest to have Obama be a one-term president, pulled out all the stops when it came to obstruction. It's time for the Democrats to do the same. Okay? Block everything. Don't just be part of the problem. Be the entire goddamn problem. All right? I mean, hey, you want to take over the government? Turn it into a freaking Christian theocracy? No. With Trump as king? Oh, hell no. Hell no. We're going to gum up the works as much as possible. That should be the plan. Now, that said, that means the Democrats are actually going to have to get tough, put themselves on the line. Look, we're not living in normal times. The Democrats have to stop thinking that we do, okay? And what worries me is the gerontocracy, okay? People like Chuck Schumer, okay? I don't think that the current crop of Democratic leadership is really all up to the task on this, but at least this, trying to block Vout, and if they go through and use all this procedural stuff to gum up the works, well, it would be a hell of a nice start. The first mass protest against President Donald Trump and shadow president Elon Musk have erupted all across the country. Protesters in Philadelphia, state capitals in California, Minnesota, Michigan, Texas, Wisconsin, Indiana, and others showed up to oppose Trump, Musk, and Project 2025, which is the hard right playbook for American government and society to basically turn us into a, Christian-led theocracy, led by Donald Trump being essentially a new king. Okay, and I'm not kidding. That's not hyperbole. It would expand the power of the executive branch to basically bypass Congress. Now, some of the people who were involved in these protests spoke out. Here's Margaret Wilmoth at a protest outside the State House in Columbus. I'm appalled by democracy's changes in the last, specifically 2 weeks, but it started a long time ago. Yeah, it started, even before Citizens United. It was some of the decisions, I believe, in the 70s when it came to allowing corporations to have free speech and then allowing that money to be unlimited speech in politics. And so all those decisions, leading up to Citizens United and then afterwards McCutcheon, that's pretty much where this started. And you can combine it with the moral majority, or the immoral majority, as I like to call them, and all these right-wing playbooks to basically take over this country and destroy democracy. Okay. Now, Wilma says, I'm just trying to put a presence into resistance. All right. Now, these protests are a result of a movement that was organized online on Reddit, actually. That's where it started. It was a hashtag Build the Resistance and 50-50-01, which stands for 50 protests, 50 states, 1 day. And that was February 5th. Now, in Michigan, there was a crowd of hundreds that were gathered in the freezing temperatures at the Capitol in Lansing, where Katie Miglietti from Ann Arbor said that Musk's access to the Treasury was especially concerning. Quote, if we don't stop it and get Congress to do something, it's an attack on democracy. Now, right now, Musk and his Doge have been temporarily blocked by a judge from accessing the Treasury. But you had the people that were already in there, one of them that went by the name of Big Balls, okay, rooting around, setting up who knows what. Okay, back doors to get in there. No, if they're barred, you'd have to completely redo the entire system because it is no longer secure. And I do not trust anything related to Elon Musk. Okay, so the damage, I think, is already done. But there's more. One poster on the state capitol steps in Jefferson City, Missouri, where dozens of protesters had gathered, said, Doge is not legit. Yeah, it's a freaking meme that they have turned into a not really official agency, because it's not official. It's not part of government. It's an outside group. And now another sign says, why does Elon have your social security info? Good question. Shouldn't have it. There are also protests in Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Sacramento, California. Protesters in Phoenix had chanted, deport Elon, and no hate, no fear. Immigrants are welcome here. I love that. Laura Wild, a former public school occupational therapist in Austin, said, we need to show strength. I think we're in a state of shock. Hey, look, I get it. Okay. I'm not exactly shocked of what happened. I was warning that, hey, Harris could lose the election. I mean, allowing the genocide in Israel to continue and not really addressing that. Yeah, definitely there were huge missteps, mistakes that caused Kamala Harris to lose the election to Donald Trump. And I knew that that was a very good possibility that would happen. But I think there are a lot of people out there who were genuinely shocked. Like, it came out of nowhere. They thought Kamala had it in the bag. And certainly she did not. Okay. And so they didn't think that Trump was going to take over and that he was going to move as quickly as he did to just completely dismantle our democracy. But this was, again, part of the coup. And I was warning, like, hey, if Trump wins, he's going to finish what he started. Don't give him the chance. And unfortunately, enough people did. 77 million Americans did give him the chance, because I think there's a good portion of those people were like, yes, this democracy thing, not exactly working out for us. And of course, there's a lot of propaganda, and there were a lot of people that voted for Trump. Like, I don't know, I want the egg prices to go down, and then the egg prices went up, and they're still up. So, yeah. But anyway, that said, look, the media. Let me just add that the media did not help during this election by sane washing Trump, and they continued to do so. Okay, mainstream media has just absolutely failed, dropped the ball. It's embarrassing, especially embarrassing with how nicey nice they're being now, even though Trump is doing exactly what he's doing. Now there's more. Thousands more protested in St. Paul, Minnesota, where 28-year-old Haley Parton carried a sign saying Harris Walls were right. She said that she was out there protesting due to fear for what is going to happen to our country if we don't all just do something about it. This is the first step, nationwide protests. Now, in Des Moines, Iowa, you had anti-Trump protesters going inside the Capitol building and disrupting a Moms for Liberty group, protest until police ended up pushing them out. Alabama, you had several hundred people gathered outside of the State House to protest these bills that were going after members of the LGBTQ community. Trump's trans bans, for example. Hey, you know what? It's great to see people out on the street, okay, protesting all of this stuff. And there's a lot to protest against, okay? I want to show you some of the pictures here from some of these various protests, just to show you. There's one. There's another one of King Elon. No, that was not in Germany. Okay, mind Trump. And you got Wake Up. This is from Michigan. This is a coup. Hey, it's a start. It's a start. Now, what's interesting, though, is getting back to the media point, is we haven't seen a whole lot of stuff about these protests in mainstream media. What, is it because media is afraid of Donald Trump? Maybe. Or worse, they could be aligned with him. Or certainly the disseminators of media, social media, for example. You got, obviously, X run by Elon Musk, so you're not going to see much of these protests on that. And, you've got Facebook run by Zuckerberg, who was doing their censorship of the left, of criticism of Elon Musk and Donald Trump. So they're doing the censorship. And so you're not seeing a whole lot of, real, coverage of these protests. And that's sad. That's sad. That said, Democrats have been, and I'm talking about the elected officials now, they have been facing a lot of calls to do more than what they're doing. More than a dozen Democratic lawmakers and aides said in interviews with Axios that their offices have received historically high call volumes in recent days from angry constituents who feel the party should be doing more to combat President Trump and his administration. Now remember, you had Democrats that were going through and approving Trump's nominees, siding with Trump to pass through his deeply unqualified and extremely partisan nominees. Okay. Now, some staffers said that they hadn't seen this many calls since events like the October 7th attack, Brett Kavanaugh hearings, or even the Trump impeachment proceedings. Jeez. Aaron Fritchner, a spokesperson for Representative Don Beyer, Virginia, said his office's phones have been ringing off the hook without pause since we opened yesterday morning. And on social media, like Blue Sky, another aide had said, every Dem is getting lit up by the neo-resistant folks being like, do more. Representative Mark Pocan said, we had the most calls we've ever had in one day on Monday in 12 years. Representative Jim McGovern, who had served in Congress since 97, told Axios, I can't recall ever receiving this many calls. People disgusted with what's going on, and they want us to fight back. Yes, they do. Yes. It's time to go full obstruction. You already learned from Mitch McConnell how to do it. So do it. Now, former House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer said his office has received hundreds, maybe thousands of calls. Now, a House Democrat who spoke on the condition of anonymity, however, said, we are going to use every tool we have, but I think there is this sense that we have legislative power, and we don't. Hoyer said that we are in the minority, and that makes it difficult for us to respond. Oh, no. Classic Democrats. When they're in the majority, oh, there's nothing we can do. And when they're in the minority, oh, there's nothing we can do. When can you do anything? Ever. Look, there is things they can do. For one, they can gum up the works. Once again, Republicans, they did it. Okay. And they went just complete and utter obstructionists during the Obama years. Okay. You couldn't get nothing through them. So why can't Democrats do the same? Now, of course, the problem with Democrats, this Democratic Party, is that they're institutionalists. They think that, hey, if we play by the rules, right, we can peel off the so-called moderates, the Suzanne Collins of the world. Well, no, that's not going to work. Okay, Republicans pretty much purged the vast majority of those so-called moderates, and anyone who remains will end up towing the line. Why? Because they fear their base. And so as a result, and not only that, but their donors want Trump to do the things that they're doing, that he's doing right now. And so as a result, you have 2/3 of the country that is getting held hostage by the remaining third that are crazy. Okay, they're hopped up on conspiracy theories and have a main desire to own the libs at any cost. So I'm sorry, but Democrats, they actually need to meet the moment here. They need to step it up. Now, currently they're blocking Russell Vought, which is great. It's a good start. Okay. But they need to keep it up. They need to understand that the old rules no longer apply. That right now we are in the middle of a constitutional crisis, and that they need to do everything they can to block, okay, to gum up the works, okay, to keep the Fettermans in line, okay, the Ruben Gallegos and all the other Democrats that have been voting to fast track Trump's nominees because they want to get home or whatever for the weekend. No, none of that anymore. All right, no, and what sucks is that you got to have strong leadership, and I'm not exactly sure that Chuck Schumer is able to meet the moment. I don't think that he is going to be that leader that Democrats need, certainly in these times. But who knows? I guess maybe, hopefully, he'll surprise us. In what is not a shocking twist, Authorities in at least 3 states have arrested individuals, 3 of them, for allegedly impersonating immigration. South Carolina, for example, Sean Michael Johnson was charged with kidnapping and impersonating a police officer after allegedly detaining a group of Latino men along a Charleston County road. So this guy is just like, hey, there's a bunch of Latinos. I'm gonna go arrest them. Johnson is accused of willfully and unlawfully presenting himself as an ICE agent and detaining a vehicle of individuals from moving. Now, the incident that was recorded by one of the victims showed Johnson saying, "Oh, you all got caught. Where are you from? Mexico? You from Mexico? You're going back to Mexico." He then took the driver's keys, attempted to take one man's phone, and when one of the victims was speaking to a friend in Spanish, Johnson said, quote, "Now don't be speaking that pig Latin in my effing country," before taking his phone out of his hand. Yeah. Johnson ended up getting charged with 3 counts of kidnapping and 1 count each of impersonating a law enforcement officer, petty larceny, assault and battery, according to jail records. Now, that said, the public defender for Johnson said, "Oh no, he's extremely sorry for, his actions. He's got mental health issues." Remind me which mental health issue makes you racist. I'm just saying. In a court appearance on Saturday, his family pleaded with the judge, saying, "Hey, look, he tried to get help in the past, but he needs to continue with therapy." MAGAs would rather, pretend to be ICE and terrorize Latinos than go and get therapy. Because that's what happened. But there's more. In Philadelphia, police charged a Temple University student in connection with the alleged impersonation of ICE officers on campus. The incident, which occurred on Saturday night, involved 3 individuals, 2 wearing shirts with police and ICE in white lettering, attempting to enter a residence hall on campus. After being denied entrance to the residence hall, they were later found disrupting a local business. Police arrested 22-year-old Aiden Steigelman, charged him with impersonating a public servant. 2 other suspects involved fled the scene in a light-colored SUV. And then, you got another situation. Now, this next situation of impersonation seems more like opportunism than racism. And this was in Raleigh, North Carolina, where you had Carl Thomas Bennett arrested for allegedly impersonating an ICE officer and sexually assaulting a woman at a Motel 6, threatening to deport her if she did not comply, with giving him sex. Police reports indicated that Bennett, 37, threatened to deport the victim if she did not have sex with him and displayed a business card with a badge on it. Bennett was denied bond and appointed a public defender, according to court records. And there it is. Certainly playing onto the fears that immigrant communities have thanks to Donald Trump's crackdown on immigrants. And I'm not saying criminal immigrants, right? Criminal aliens, because most of the people that Trump is rounding up and deporting do not have criminal records. They're not criminals. The only thing that they did was a misdemeanor coming across the border. At most. Okay? So, that's what's going on. People emboldened by Donald Trump. Mostly people who are racist. Okay? And so they're using this as a way to justify accosting anyone who is not white, pretending to be immigration when you're not. You're not, but you know what? I don't know. Maybe they'd love to have you now. Maybe there's a pardon out there from Donald Trump. Oh, no, you guys, you're fine. Here, we're just going to hire you now. Oh, great. Now, that said, the effect that this is having on regular people is just awful. The founder and president of the Charleston Hispanic Association told CNN the harassment of his constituents based on their ethnicity is unfortunately commonplace. Quote, "We hear of Hispanics being targeted quite a bit. It's an everyday thing." I think this is an isolated case. I don't think this is an isolated case. It was just caught on video. It's pretty sad to see that. The incidents show, according to Maribel Hernandez Rivera, Director of Policy and Government Affairs, Border and Immigration at the ACLU, they show the importance of safe space policies. It's important for immigrant communities to feel safe, to be able to approach law enforcement and report anything that's happening. And when people do not feel safe, not only does it make people who are immigrants less safe, but it makes all of us less safe. In her view, the Trump administration immigration policies were designed specifically to instill fear, which she says endangers public safety for entire communities. The point of their policies is to create fear, to create panic, to create chaos. That's the point. The point is a cruelty, and that is what is being exploited here. 100%. Hernandez Rivera also said what we're seeing here is we have leadership at the top that dehumanizes people who are immigrants, and now this is the outcome of that dehumanizing. You end up having a violation of people's rights. People see and hear this, and they feel emboldened to go against immigrants. Look, I was around during the last Trump administration. This happened the last time, okay? Maybe not as widespread, but it absolutely happened. And so, if it happened then, odds are it was going to happen again. And that's exactly what we're seeing. And now, already, it's starting to get worse. It appears that Shadow President Elon Musk's antics are costing him, at least when it comes to selling cars overseas. Remember when Elon Musk was selling cars? I mean, yes, he kind of still is, and not just promoting neo-Nazis and, going on X and cheating at video games. No, but turns out his antics are costing him sales. Sales of Tesla, for example, have created across some of the EV manufacturers' most valuable European markets. Sales in Germany, for example, where Tesla has a factory, dropped 59% in January, compared to the same month the previous year, according to the Financial Times. Maybe the Germans, they're just sick of these woke EVs, No, it turns out the overall German EV market had surged by more than 50%. Oops.
Whoopsie.
Yeah. Now, Tesla's share ended up going from 14% to just 4%. So getting crowded out there. I don't know, maybe him supporting the openly neo-Nazi Alternative for Germany party wasn't exactly great for business. Doesn't exactly look good for him. And that said, what if you already have a Tesla? Well, for one entrepreneur in the country, they have been swamped with orders for bumper stickers reading, "I bought this before Elon went crazy." Well, look, I would say I bought this before Elon went mask off, because that's what that is. Apparently, he has always been like this. Okay. Now, that said, that's just Germany, but it's not just there. There are reports that Tesla sales in France fell 63% in January, while registrations of new Teslas in Norway fell 38%. In the UK, Tesla sales fell by 12%. Not as bad there. That said, battery EV sales were 35% higher in the UK in January of 2025 than they were in 2024. So people are buying EVs, they're buying batteries, they're just not buying as many Teslas. In fact, you've also had large declines in Sweden, 44%, and the Netherlands, 42%. Now, of course, Ars Technica does note that this might not be all about Elon's antics, but maybe about the cars themselves, too. Turns out his cars kind of suck. Okay, the real Tesla is rolling around in his grave right now. I mean, he might be rolling so much that he could create a perpetual motion machine that you could use to draw energy from. Okay, but no, Tesla, their vehicles have limited and outdated model range. The cyber garbage truck is too large and heavy for use with a normal driver's license and does not conform to European road legality regulations. Unlike here in the United States, where pretty much anything goes. Okay, that's why you're seeing all these, garbage cyber, trash trucks driving around, barely driving around, okay, and falling apart. So what a disaster. Now, that said, this is nice. It's nice to hear, but what impact is it going to have on Elon Musk? I don't know. I mean, he's still the wealthiest man in the world. And he still has major government contracts with the United States worth billions of dollars. So at the end of the day, yeah, he's going to be fine. Thanks to all the money that ironically comes from the taxpayer. Okay. Which is ironic, of course, because, he keeps saying, oh, Doge is going to go after the waste, the fraud and the abuse. But it will never go after Elon Musk's contracts. Because of course not. He'll never stop that money. I mean, that money helped Donald Trump buy the White House. So of course that's going to, that's going to stay. That said, Musk did take another L today. Aside from the terrible sales news, according to the Financial Times, a federal judge has barred the Treasury from handing data from its payment system to outsiders like Musk, who does not run a governmental agency. Okay, he wasn't appointed to anything that was real. Okay, Doge is not a real agency. It's not part of the government. It should not have, according to this judge, access to government system. Okay, now that said, Tom Kraus and Marco Illes, these are two of the Doge engineers, right? They had read and write access to the system. They could have potentially installed backdoors. The whole system itself could be compromised. That's my concern. That's my worry. Maybe it's not the case, but I don't know. I don't trust them. Musk and his goons were all over the inside of these different agencies, these different systems. I know they're supposedly trying to find the waste and the fraud. Well, what's one of the things that they found? Well, their big story is, did you know Politico got money from USAID? Really? To the tune of billions of dollars, says Trump. Are you sure about that? Let me give you the details. So it turns out that, yes, some USAID money did go to Politico. Why? Well, it turns out that the departments were subscribed to Politico Pro, okay, which is one of their premium services, okay? And so, look, only a tiny amount of the government's overall spending on subscriptions, okay, came from USAID. And so this whole idea that, oh, you had billions of dollars that were propping up liberal media that nobody reads, no, it's not true. And here's the thing, I'm not even a fan of Politico. I think they're establishment legacy media, okay? But it is funny how these right-wingers, some of whom literally got paid by the Russian government, like I'm talking about Benny Johnson here, who's all over this one. They're so mad about some of these government departments buying subscriptions to a premium journalistic outlet. You know what? Lauren Boebert's office recently paid Politico $7,150 for a year-long subscription to its premium products. Oh my God, Lauren Boebert is propping up Politico. What a scandal. Oh, wait, no. Look, the only payments received by Politico LLC from USAID were for 2 subscriptions to E&E, the energy and environment publication that Politico produces, which totals $44,000 over 2 years. That's really expensive. But understand, that's the entire department, okay? And so, yeah, turns out these outlets will charge a significant amount of money to different departments for their so-called premium products, right? But look, it's not billions of dollars, obviously. It's not funding grants or government subsidies. It's paying for access for premium products. Whether or not I think it's worth it, because it's Politico, is immaterial, right? But understand that this is an example of what the so-called wonderkins over at Doge are finding. That says, oh, big scandal. It's really normal stuff, right? But since it is so normal, they have to lie about it to justify them continuing to root around in government databases where they don't belong and to collect our personal data. That said, thankfully, there are some consequences to what Musk is doing, mainly losing money. I love to see this. I love to see rich people lose money. Okay, it's fantastic. I hope he loses more. Okay, and I hope that the consequences for doing everything that he's done continue to get more and more severe. The government of Panama swiftly shut down a claim by the U.S. State Department that American ships would no longer have to pay fees to go through the Panama Canal. Yeah, we're going to go through the Panama Canal for free. Yeah. Turns out, no, that's not the case. President Jose Raul Molino on Thursday denied the U.S. State Department's claim that his country had reached a deal allowing U.S. warships to transit the Panama Canal for free without any cost. Molino said he told the U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth on Wednesday that he could neither set the fees to transit the canal nor exempt anyone from them, and that he was surprised by the U.S. State Department's statement suggesting otherwise. Remember, they want to keep China from using the canal and to let American ships go through for free. And then they went out and said, yes, we made a deal. But Molino's like, no, we didn't. Quote, I completely reject that statement on yesterday, Molino said during his weekly press conference, adding that he had asked Panama's ambassador in Washington to dispute the State Department's statement. The State Department's now just coming out there and just saying ridiculous things. I know there's always been a propaganda since it's the government, right? And sometimes they'll put out pro-America propaganda, right? But in this case, it is so blatantly wrong that it's just not based on reality whatsoever. Okay, it's so easy to point out hey, no, that you're out there announcing a deal that we never made, literally. Okay, and of course, since they're doing this on X, there's gonna be people like, oh, that's BS, fake news. You totally accepted the deal. Molino said the statement, I'm sorry, before I get to that, the Panama Canal Authority put out its own statement later Wednesday night saying that it had not made any adjustments to the fees, okay? And Molino said that the statement really surprises me because they're making an important institutional statement from the entity that governs the United States foreign policy under the President of the United States based on a falsity. That's intolerable. Hey man, welcome to 2025, where everything is insane. Okay, where everything that's coming out of the current government now is probably likely a falsity. So just kind of bet on it, seeing the fake news coming out. Okay, now but here's the thing: since 1999, the U.S. has paid a total of $25.4 million in transit fees. So now Trump says, well, we're going to save millions and millions of dollars a year. Yeah. How much we've paid in transit fees is actually less than $1 million annually. So, no, we're not saving millions and millions of dollars. In fact, we're not saving any money. Okay, we're still paying to go through the Panama Canal. Now, that said, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he had gone to Panama to discuss so-called Chinese influence on the canal. What Chinese influence? I don't know, man. Nobody knows. It's not real. Now, Rubio told Molino that Trump believed that China's presence in the canal may violate a treaty that led the United States to turn the waterway over to Panama in 1999. You know what that treaty calls for? neutrality. That Panama is, that the usage of that canal is open to everyone. Well, then, if it's neutral, that means China can use it. China's going to pay for it, for using it. The United States is paying for it to use it. Okay, so now that said, the administration, canal administrators said, look, okay, yeah, we might give you a sweetheart deal in, giving you priority to cross the canal. We could do that for you. We could speed it up for you, get your warships in quicker. You're up on the list. But they did not discuss waiving fees. So, look, again, straight up lies from the administration, claiming that, because of Donald Trump's leadership, we're going to save millions of dollars a year on transit fees. What a great negotiator. Except that, no, he didn't do anything. He did nothing. There was no change whatsoever. But again, it doesn't matter because MAGA's out there celebrating wins that didn't actually happen. Take the tariffs, for example, right? Now, the tariffs on Mexico and Canada would have been 25% tariffs, right? On both of those countries. Now, there's still tariffs on China that have gone into effect, which is 10%, right? But the tariffs on Canada and Mexico, they were not canceled, but delayed, okay? Now, both countries had agreed, okay, to delay the tariffs if they do the things that they had already planned to do previously. I'm not kidding. Weeks ago, Canada offered $1.3 billion, and it's in Canadian dollars, so about $900 million, in border security, with a package that included drones, helicopters, more border guards, and the creation of a joint task force to go after the fentanyl, which there's very, very small amounts of fentanyl that go across the Canadian border, right? So not really the hugest problem. Now, they had already agreed to do that before. On Monday, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said that after talks with Trump, that they added a fentanyl czar and agreed to list Mexican drug cartels as terrorist organizations, which again, it's not really a gigantic concession, right? Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum agreed to station 10,000 members of her country's National Guard in its border with the United States, but those troops are being shifted from other parts of the country rather than newly deployed, so it's not really a big thing that they had to do either. So, again, not really gigantic victories here from Trump. He really didn't get much other than, hey, look, I won negotiations. Look at my tactics, which he didn't even have to threaten the tariffs on both of those countries. If anything, it was unnecessary because they were already agreeing to do these things. It's just needlessly antagonizing our closest trading partners. Just to say, oh, look at me, I won, I'm the greatest negotiator ever. Yeah, okay. Look, that's the thing though, is his sycophants don't actually care if they're not real wins, okay? And why don't they care? Because they're in a cult, okay? They're in a cult. And so they're going to celebrate this as the greatest win for the greatest negotiator ever. It's absolutely ridiculous. As Inu Manik, a fellow for trade policy at the Council on Foreign Relations, said, quote, a win is anything Trump wants it to be. There isn't any grand strategy or rational explanation for what he's doing. It's chaos for the sake of chaos. Pretty much. But this is just the latest example of that chaos. And there's going to be so much more. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.